Hello and welcome to episode 1177 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, May 19th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Not too bad. It's bright and early. Obviously, always earlier where you are, but got a nice baseball Friday. Been noticing the change. We're not at summer yet, but I've been noticing I wake up around 6 every day. It's lighter and lighter, and frankly, that makes me happy.
Yeah, I don't like waking up early, so it's
I mean,
I don't care how
I don't love that
light it
aspect
is.
of it,
Yeah,
but I like that it's nice and light out when I do wake up.
yeah,
I do
sure.
appreciate that. But yeah, I know you're not the biggest fan of waking up early in general. We're both night owls. I have a weird thing where I'm a night owl, but I do like to be up very early. But I'm a big nap guy. I'm a big nap guy. I gotta take a nap.
I'm yeah, a nap for me, considering how late I am up, like writing and stuff, and how early I wake up. Yeah, I tend to need a nap usually about
I'm all
midday.
about them. I'm all about them. Like I can even do a quick one that kind of recharges 25, 30 minutes. So I'm all about naps. But we got to talk some pitching today. We got some things to get into. Got a little bit of news. One good, one bad. Let's start with the bad. Dustin May. His stats had been bad to this point. You have to wonder if maybe the injury that has now felled him was part of the problem. Dustin May is going to be out with a flexor pronator strain. Do I have that in the right order? Pronator flexor strain? I don't know. But it's a right forearm strain. Bottom line, 4 to 6 weeks. I'm calling it 2 months. Easy. Wasn't that great beforehand. This is a bummer. I think it's an NFBC cut. IL spot hold for now. But then I don't think Dustin May takes a ton of priority if I'm rocking like a 3 IL situation and I've got some stars there. What do you think of Dustin May's injury and where are you cutting him, if anywhere?
I mean, I'm cutting him anywhere where I can't easily reserve him on an IL spot. I
Do you
know
agree with
this.
NFBC cut from
Yeah,
Dustin May?
yeah, I think so. I mean, here's the thing. I know they say 4 to 6 weeks, but anytime there's this forearm strain, that often means it's going to be longer. Sometimes it means it's going to be Tommy John, and he just had a Tommy John. It's a guy
That
who
would
has.
suck, dude.
I know but he hasn't stayed healthy. He hasn't pitched a lot of innings.
No.
I got some pushback for what I'm about to say on Twitter, so I'm interested to hear what you say. I'm surprised with the Dodgers' usage of him. He's a guy that's not thrown a lot of innings in the major leagues, just in general, but in any season really. And they were letting him go as deep as the seventh, through 7 innings on occasions. And I was just really surprised that he wasn't kind of a five and dive kind of guy to protect him. I mean,
I think they might realize that doesn't really protect guys, is the thing. And it's still all about the pitch count, right? And Dustin May only eclipsed 100 once. Only eclipsed 94 out of the 9 starts that he had. So, like, I hear what you're saying, and especially a team like that, you would expect them to be remarkably careful. But I don't know. I tend to trust them insofar as you can even help prevent these things. I think the Dodgers are probably at the higher end of teams that are making sure to take care of their pitchers the best that they can. Because the fact of it is, and we've talked about this a whole bunch, is you can't really, right? There is no safe way to do this. Once you're pitching, you are at risk. If you're playing, you are at risk.
mm-hmm.
So I'm probably not going to crush them too hard on this because I kind of wanted them to kind of start to see what they've got from Dustin May. He has been recovered from TJ, not for a long time, but he came back last year, so we're a bit removed from his TJ. I thought it was nice for them to see where they're at. He was leading the NL in hits per nine and homers per nine, which is why he was able to succeed 2.63 ERA despite the very underwhelming swing and miss capability that Dustin May was showing with an 18% K rate and 6% swing and strike rate. Easily both career lows and very uninspired. Like even Marco Gonzalez laughs at those numbers. Like that's how pathetic. Like those are so bad. But obviously he had enough stuff Dustin May did to still find some success in spite of not missing bats. This is just a bummer, though. I root for him. He wasn't a guy I was necessarily drafting, but I wanted him to be good. And here I am now cutting him. more or less everywhere outside of spots where I can have an IL. And I already have to have pretty much nobody on the IL. Let's say you've got, I don't know, whenever I try to think about this, I can't think of guys that are on the IL, but let's say you got
Brandon
Eloy.
Woodruff.
Okay, Brandon Woodruff, Eloy, and who's another decent one? Because like a lot of leagues have 3 IL spots.
TJ Friedel.
Well, you love Friedel enough. Would you go
Yeah.
Friedel or May then?
I would keep Friedel. I think
would
any spot where you don't have an open eye, or any league where you don't have an open IL slot, he goes to the waiver wire, because I think that at best we're seeing him in 6 weeks, and at worst we're not seeing him again. So
yeah,
I'm not going to hold on to someone like that, especially with, I hate to say it, but so little upside without the strikeouts. Like,
absolutely.
He's just a ratio pattern. So
You need that 209 BABIP and .2 homer 9 to continue. I mean, not exactly those levels, but you need those to be his main calling cards for Dustin May, and those are difficult to bank on. That's why we're such so committed to the swing and miss, because that's the bankable thing that you can have that can keep you good. Suppressing homers and suppressing hits, yeah, you can have some control over that, but to do it at such an elite level is very difficult to do for a whole season without swing and miss. Usually the guys who are the best at that are the ones that get whiffs. So we're very clear where we're at. We're out on Dustin May, wishing the best for him, but it's just not a great situation right now. Maybe you pick up this guy to replace him, Matthew Liberatore. We're doing it again, Justin. This weekend's going to be another, Fabapalooza type situation, because Matthew Liberatore came up, dominated, and we've got another big prospect that folks are going to be very interested in. What did you think of Matthew Liberatore's debut, and where do you think you're going to be this weekend with regards to Fab? I know you spent big last weekend, so you're probably not there, but should it be another frenzy for Liberatore's services?
I think so. He was really, really impressive. I mean, just a little bit of added velocity, and all of a sudden, like, everything that in his arsenal just looks a little bit better. And I know the Cardinals have not played well as of yet, but they're starting to play better. And this is still an elite infield defense. I think he's going to go for a lot of money this weekend. So those of you who put big bids in on Yuri Perez and didn't win Yuri Perez are going to be excited to go after Matthew Liberatore. I fully expect him to just go for a ton. Gavin Stone also likely the replacement.
With May. Sorry, I didn't even put that in there. Yeah, go ahead. Continue on Stone for the Dodgers.
I mean, he's had kind of ho-hum numbers in AAA, but I mean, he is a top-tier prospect. He pitches for the Dodgers, so he's going to go for a lot of money. Brandon Williamson, who had a really nice debut.
We're going to talk about him in the
Colorado.
So we won't get too deep on him.
Yeah, but, so it's another Fabapalooza for pitching. Do you ever remember a season in which this many starting pitchers, like quote-unquote elite prospects, have come up all at the same time? Like, I mean, we're not even in June yet, and we've had 40 of them.
It's like hard to catalog these and be like, oh, I can remember. Some people do have memories like that, and shouts to you, because that's awesome. If there is one, hit me with it. But for me, I certainly cannot remember a situation exactly like you said, though. It's June, not even June, excuse me. We're 2 weeks from June, 10 days, and we've already had all this with all these great prospects come out. No, and
I've been playing 20 years. I don't remember a season in which, especially pitching prospects, we've had some really good hitting prospect years where, guys like Tatis and Soto and, and Trout and things like that come up. But I just can't remember the last time we had so many.
Flow too.
Yeah, it's every week.
Every damn week, there's 2, 3, 4 guys.
We're gonna get to August, and no one's gonna be able to spend more than like $25 on a player.
That's what I can't really wait to see, though, is the impact here, because we are in a situation where, we keep saying like, well, there has to be people running out of money, but as we highlighted earlier this week when we were talking about it, when you think about it, it really only is 1 or 2 people spending big each week. So out of 15. We maybe haven't gotten through all 15 teams yet that have spent a decent amount of money. So I am eager to see how this affects, say, the trade deadline, right? Because we always wait for things to happen there. Now, that's bigger in AL, NL, where new guys come into the league. but even just player shifts that open up playing time roles for guys that were on the waiver wire because they weren't playing. Now all of a sudden they got full-time roles. It can still create some frenzies in mixed leagues. I wonder if there's really going to be enough money to spend. So I am
Well,
really
and
eager to
then,
see how this plays on the rest of the season's finances.
I mean, you're also going to have like huge closer changes at some point. I mean,
Yep.
Liam Hendricks in the leagues where you couldn't pick up a guy who hasn't debuted in the majors yet, like he's going to be a bit like. There's just going to be a lot of still a lot of guys to come up. We still haven't had like the major hitting prospects to come up too.
God,
Like, it's like
please come up. By the
all
way,
of
I'm ready.
Cincinnati's, prospects outside of
Encarnacion,
Matt
Strand,
McClane.
Ellie,
Yeah.
McClain just came up. Yeah,
Like,
but for the love of God, please start bringing up the hitters. I'm ready. I'm officially ready, dude.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just gonna regret so hard not getting Christopher Morel as a stash when I got Alec Thomas back, and I was perfectly fine with him getting Alec Thomas. I wanted him, but my backup bid there was a $7 Christopher Morel. He didn't go that week. A week later, $338.
whew. I still think people are going to regret that.
He has
But
5 homers and a steal already. It's going to be pretty hard.
he's
He's going to
got
bank.
he's got a 39% strikeout rate and a
He's going to
71%
bank
zone
enough
contact.
stats that it's going to be hard. Don't be like me and argue against younger Adelis Garcia here. just accept that he's a baseball guy. All right, let's do some two-step here. Talk about the two-step pitchers for next week. The ones that are going to have some decision. I cut out the obvious ones on the high end and the obvious no's on the low end. We got some guys in here that, you'd be like, isn't he an obvious no? But hey, deeper leagues. I'm talking somebody like Tommy Henry. I didn't think you were going to have a positive word to say about him in like NL West only league. So we didn't need to include him.
Never trust a man with 2 first names.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. You can't do it. Justin Mason is the foremost among that I would
Absolutely.
never trust. What about Kyle Bradish? He gets a trip to the Yankees and home to Texas. Now, obviously, I think this is deeper leagues slam dunk 15s, 12s I think pretty slam dunk. So I'm focused pretty narrowly on the 10s and lower here, the real shallow leagues with Kyle Bradish. We both really liked him to be a breakout this year. I feel like that's progressing pretty nicely. I'm going to be surprised if you go against this. I'm in everywhere all the time right now with Kyle Bradish. Do you treat him the same right now? Auto start all formats.
This is a really tough two-step, and
It
so I don't know that I'm auto start, especially in your shallower leagues.
I'm not a coward though, so
yeah, no, I'm definitely a coward. And it's so weird because I look at a lot of my teams and I go, man, the pitching really sucks, but my streaming record's been pretty darn good. I don't know.
Some of those guys might not be available in your deeper leagues.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. Like I'm not able to, quote unquote, stream Michael Kopech and Brady Singer, so I'm not getting murdered like I have been on some of my teams. So, I think in 15 teams he's an obvious to start. If you just take out that one really really bad start at Boston, then he has 30 innings pitched with only 7 earned runs given up. Like, that's pretty sweet. And he's been really, really good over his last 2 starts. This is a really, really tough two-step, though. Texas has been an elite offense.
I know.
The Yankees are starting to get going again. So I in 10 teams, I think I am a little bit more cautious. It really just depends on my other options.
I mean, yeah, like there's a world where you've got guys that you drafted all before Bradish because he was a later round pick in our leagues, our mixed leagues that were deeper ones, let alone 10 teamers. Sure, I get that. Okay, so I'm not saying you got to start him over some stud you drafted in the 12th round or whatever. But if you've been consistently starting him, this two-step is not going to make me run away from Kyle Bradish.
Yes.
That's all I'm trying to say is that I'm certainly not cutting him either. At the very least, if your team is really good and you're 8 or 10 teamer, team streamer for Kyle Bradish. I know it's a two-step and we have the old, if you can't start him in a two-step, cut him. That's a tighter rule, or that's a looser rule in deeper leagues where you just might have too much talent. So keep Bradish at the very least, though. Let's talk about Drew Smyly, and I think we're going to focus again narrowly on the shallower formats because I think in 15s, Drew Smyly's a slam dunk. He's home to the Mets and the Reds. I think in 12s, Drew Smyly's pretty close to a slam dunk. So I want to focus again on the shallower formats. He's been pitching. He's been healthy and pitching very well. I think that's usually the key with Smyly. Not so much talent, but whether or not he's going to be there. Right now, he's there. I can't see how I'm getting him out of my lineup with an 18% swinging strikeout, 18% strikeout minus walk, 2.86 ERA, and 0.93 WHIP. What do you think of Drew Smyly here in this double home two-step?
I think he's a must start every time out. I mean,
I totally agree.
And again, like if you don't count that first start he had at the beginning of the season, he's got a 1.97 ERA through.
I mean, yeah, he's got 2.86 with it. So imagine just taking off the worst start. It's game over.
Like he's been amazing, and I think the only concern is at what point does he break, because he always just breaks. So
it just seems to always happen. Yeah,
but
you ride it until then.
It would be the year where he's had like the most pitching injuries that I can ever remember in one season.
That
he's the guy who stays healthy and throws 200 innings. So.
I would die. Like I would love that. Drew Smyly, but it would be hilarious if he drops a career high, 175 right now. So anything over $175 would be a career high.
On pace for it. So
yeah. Everyone falling apart, and Drew Smyly's like, oh, I just dropped a 189. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're starting him everywhere. He's been really good. He is still available in a decent number of mixed leagues, though. So go out there, check your wire.
Insane.
Always make sure. I don't get that. Like, I understand shallower leagues. Like, I get it. I know we talk about how we don't play as many, but I do understand you have more talent. I don't know how Drew Smyly would still be available. Like, I just cannot fathom how that's still happening, because you're still picking up the guys that pop off and do well. Smyly needs to be on a roster somewhere in every league right now, and he's only 69% rostered at Yahoo. That's not.
I think part of it is like I know like people always are like, well, those are dead leagues, right? Those are like I don't believe that they're necessarily dead leagues. What I think a lot of them are is like if you're in a position where you're in a 10-team Yahoo league, do you want to draft the guy that is pitching well, pitching decently that you really like? Like, I think a lot of people struggle, like even with the guys that aren't pitching well, like, do you want to drop Grayson Rodriguez for Drew Smyly?
Yeah.
Well, you absolutely should, but that feels really weird. And
I get it. Yep.
in a lot of these, public leagues, people aren't as savvy to go like, well, I'm gonna drop the guy that I took in the 13th round for Drew Smyly, who we know is going to break down, but in those leagues, there's going to also give you a replacement, value to pick a different guy up if and when he does go down.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally the case, and we've talked about that with our transition into the shallower formats after so many years in the deeper leagues, is knowing when to cut guys and being willing to say, okay, it's time to move on here. Yeah, this guy's good. We believe in him, and we would never cut him in a 15. But 10s are different, and you're going to have 12 outfielders that are all about the same level in a 10-team waiver wire. You got to find the hot hand, the best matchup, who's got the good setups with the platoons, and you have to do the same with pitching. Yeah, Grayson Rodriguez might be a summer god. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes off big time at some point this year. But I would take Drew Smyly over him right now in a 10-teamer. I don't know if I would take either of these guys. This is more of the all-format situation we can discuss here, starting at the deeper end. Brandon Williamson, who you alluded to earlier, and Graham Ashcraft have home to St. Louis and at the Cubs. You mentioned Brandon Williamson's debut, sparkling in Coors, which is only going to add to people overrating him now. I mean, he's a real prospect. There's some real talent there for the lefty, but 5 2/3, 2 hits, a walk, and 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts at Coors is huge. Let's start with Williamson before we get into the disappointment that is Graham Ashcraft. You picking up Williamson for this two-step here?
I don't think so. As much as if you remember way back when on episode 1000, and we had Sarah's son, we both we all gave a really, really deep league guy that we thought could come up and be really good. My guy was Brandon Williamson.
That was a season preview league, wasn't it? Season preview episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. I believe it was, yeah. So unfortunately, his history has been, at least recently, that he walks too many guys and gives up too many home runs. And while yes, he was very good in Colorado, which is a hard place to be good, I don't think he's gonna be good. So I'm not risking him against two offenses which could easily destroy him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good thing to point out there. That sure, he went into Coors, had a great day, good for him. But look at Brandon Williamson's AAA work, and it's been really unimpressive the last 2 years. 5.04 ERA, 172 WHIP, with really modest strikeout to walk numbers as well. And that is the International League. That's not the PCL, where we usually give guys a decent break and say, oh, they played in some crazy environment. I'm sure there's some good environments in the International League, but I'm not sure. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe Louisville is some major place where it's like really difficult to pitch. So I think Brandon Williamson has just been sputtering at the high minors, and that leaves me pretty uninterested. I'm actually looking it up right now. It does have a pretty high home run park factor, Louisville does, at a 122, the second highest, or third highest in the International League. Sure, okay, but that doesn't explain all the other issues that he's had. And homers, to be honest, haven't even been the biggest issue for Williamson, at least not last year. They've been up a little bit this year. Like what he did, I kind of want to play wait and see with him, but you don't get that opportunity in fantasy these days. Someone's going to pick him up. More power to them. It won't be me. I do have the opportunity in my main event to pick up Graham Ashcraft. He was cut. And you know what? I think it was a savvy move by the person. It's easy to say now with hindsight. But even at the time, I was like, I don't mind that. Because if you could try to get him back if you really, really wanted to. But he's going to Coors this week. What do you need him for? He's been remarkably unimpressive. He goes to Coors, gets blasted. Graham Ashcraft, we were so excited about him, we being the general fantasy community. I don't remember where you were. I was hyping him up. I was in on Graham Ashcraft's spring changes, the alterations to his sinker and slider, that he was getting more swings and misses. He was using that power sinker for good as opposed to having the most underwhelming swing and miss profile despite throwing 100. And Ashcraft has fallen right back to the guy he was last year. He's almost exactly the same ERA and WHIP, uninspiring strikeout rate. Are you picking Graham Ashcraft up in deep leagues? Because he's available in some of them. St. Louis at Chicago. What do you think?
And now, again, I mean, these are two offenses I don't really want to mess with too much, especially now that St. Louis is starting to get going. And Graham Ashcraft is, like you said, doing exactly the same thing as he did last year, which is give up a lot of zone contact, 91.5% zone contact, which is an insane amount to give up, especially considering, the new defensive rules, not being able to cover things with a shift as easily. So, I'm not interested in Graham Ashcraft. Like, he is now become a 15-team streamer as opposed to a guy that was on your roster and you were rolling out every
standard streamer. Yeah. Where you can use him if you see a good spot and then cut him. Usually you'd think a two-step. This one isn't it for me, or we're not in on Graham Ashcraft. I'm sure he'll get picked up in my league because he has a high roster rate. People are going to see him at the top and be like, oh wow, Graham Ashcraft got cut. I think we are the only main event, a 98% roster, that he is available. League mates, have at him, and please spend a lot of money because
please use him this week.
Yes, use him this week. Spend a lot of money. I certainly encourage you. Drop a line to your buddy Dave. Say, wow, Graham Ashcraft available. That's crazy. You should probably put $250 on him. I think that's a great idea. Let's go out to Cleveland. Peyton Battenfield Earth over here, has had some interesting streams, has had some rough ones, but Cleveland prospect, probably the lowest on their radar right now because they've had some really strong ones with Bybee and Allen, and then Gavin Williams is lurking. Double home, White Sox, St. Louis. Peyton Battenfield doing enough for you that you're interested in D performance. I think it's an automatic out in shallower, so we're focused on 15 teamers here with Battenfield. What do you think?
No.
Why not?
I'm
kidding. You don't need to expect.
He's not good. Yeah,
he started off with a really nice swinging strike rate, and he wasn't getting strikeouts with it. I was like, man, there's a little something here with Battenfield. Then he had a big outing against Minnesota, 7 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. I'm like, okay, cool. Then his next 2 here against Tigers and the White Sox have been really uninspiring. 3 homers against the White Sox really did him in. That's always going to hurt you. 4 and 3 walks in a 3-start run earlier in the year. So there's always something kind of going on. I just don't think Battenfield's quite in that level of Cleveland prospect that I'm super interested in. I gave him a look, and I usually say let's give 5 to 7 starts for a guy and see where they're really at. We're 6 starts and a relief appearance in. I see a 10% strikeout minus walk, a 478 Sierra. I've seen enough from Battenfield to know that I'm not really interested here. So pass on this
Really,
two-step.
really interesting thing that I didn't notice before just right now. His amazing minor league numbers are really buoyed by an insanely high infield fly ball rate.
Oh, really?
I mean, pretty much since 2021 in AA, he has had 25% infield fly ball rates at every level.
Pop-up machine.
Like
Well,
that
can be useful. It seems like a difficult skill to repeat, though.
yeah, like that just like I mean, at some point you say it's a skill because it's four different stops, but
Sure.
like infield fly ball rate, like we're not just talking about fly ball rate, we're talking about like 25% infield fly ball rate is insanely high.
It seems like the margin on that is so small that they
Mm-hmm.
can quickly turn into homers. To wit, he has a 1.8 homer 9, Battenfield does.
Yeah.
And
I think
wonder
that
if he's
is
just missing there. And a 5% infield fly ball rate at the majors.
Exactly.
So, I was keeping tabs on him early. Like I said, I give Cleveland pitchers a little bit extra benefit of the doubt, too, because they do such a good job. So even though I wasn't super familiar with Peyton Battenfield, I was like, okay, I'll take a look. I'll see what's up. I even streamed him in one of his starts in one of my other leagues. I'm out here pretty easily. If things change down the line, we can revisit. But right now, no shot. Let's talk the 2 White Sox that are getting 2 steps here. And first one is obviously not going to be available very many spots. I just want to know if you're still starting him without incident in shallower formats. It's Dylan Cease. He and Mike Clevinger get trips to Cleveland and Detroit. Cease hasn't been the Dylan Cease that folks paid for. I'm not advocating cutting in any way, shape, or form, any league type. No shot. Just wondering if you are just, locking him in the lineup and auto starting Dylan Cease right now with a 14% strikeout minus walk, down from 20 last year, 6% dip in strikeout rate from 30 to 24, 478 ERA, 139 whip, BABIP's up, homers up. Nothing's really going well. Are you still starting Dylan Cease in your shallower formats without incident?
I mean, yes. Especially in this 2-star versus Cleveland versus Detroit. These are 2 of the worst offenses in baseball.
Shut your mouth, bro.
It's true. But this is the downside to, doing a victory lap on opening day, which is what a lot of Dylan Cease people did, including our good buddy John Legeza, who I know listens. So I'm gonna
wait. What did he do? He was saying, "I told y'all he was gonna be good again" or something.
He was like, "Where are all the Dylan Cease haters now?" I'll find you the tweet.
That's hilarious. You got to be careful with the old opening day. Sometimes you do it on the first pitch of the season, like a dumbass, and say, "I knew Ian Happ was going to be a god."
And no one loves a good victory lap more than me. You do. And I couldn't. I have to mention that I don't know if you saw this in the Pull Hitter Discord, but they've opened up a channel just to post people's victory laps.
Oh my god, Lappers Delight. This is funny.
Yeah. So I know I'm going to be featured a lot there.
Yes, I see it. That's really funny. Oh my gosh. Yep. This is great. Like, you have to balance, talking about something with the whole victory lap thing, right? Like, let's say you're out on a guy and then you point out what he's done for a handful of starts. You're not necessarily being like, "Oh, I'm going to victory lap this guy," and I'm, just because I'm pointing out that he hasn't been good or whatever, or vice versa, if the guy's been good. But you can tell when people are just like, "Yeah, I kind of knew this was going to happen." It's like, what value do you get? Because you can only look stupid, right? Like, if you get your victory lap early and you're right, okay, cool, you made it to the 6 months. But if you take a victory lap on something in April, May, and you look really, really dumb by September, that's just such a easy burn. I just don't understand the desire to take that early lap there. Like, people want to jam Adelis Garcia in my face right now. It looks really bad. like I'm not going to sit here and keep doubling down and say, no, you should cut him and he's the worst player ever. Plate skills are up. Respect to that. Never saw that coming from a 30-year-old who had been really bad. But hit me at the end of the year still. I still see a world where Adelis Garcia doesn't necessarily have the greatest season ever. But
And I mean, we
I
always
just
talk
don't
about
get the
this.
early victory laps.
I would much rather be wrong but have my process be right than be right and have my process be wrong. I mean, I'll take
Yeah.
A guy that I'm trying to think of a good example, of someone like, hey, this guy's been really good in spite of the fact it was a bad process. But ultimately as a content provider, I want my process to be right even when the results are wrong. Getting back to Cease, there were so many things to be worried about. And so,
well, I think there's one overarching thing. 40 command.
Yeah.
Like at times like 35 grade out of the 20/80 scale. Like that's really bad. And that makes you super volatile. And he lived with it last year, despite a 10% walk rate, because he left guys on base at an 82% clip, which is about 10 points north of league average. 260 BABIP helped him to a 189 average. Some of that's good luck. Some of that is his nasty stuff for C. So he deserves credit there. But then the home run rate, 8% homer to fly ball. We'd never seen a number that low. And so he had a .8 homer 9. And that regressed, not to an egregious level at 1.0 with an 11% homer to fly ball, but you add that in with the walks too. Homers for Cease can be particularly damaging because there's probably a guy on from a walk. So for me, it was tough to pay the full freight because while I do believe that he's a very good pitcher, and I wouldn't be surprised by another season like last year, the volatility range on him was massive, and that's what made me a little bit scared about Dylan Cease this year. So you are definitely starting him everywhere. I am too, by the way. I just wanted to see if you were still there. I agree. I think we should still be starting him. You drafted him, you bought in, because the second you sit him because you're trying to be like, you know what, it just hasn't been great, let me just sit out, is when he drops a 15K outing on your face.
Yeah.
Like it'll be clockwork on that. So I'm starting him here, and like you said, at Cleveland, at Detroit, that is a good setup. What about Clevinger? Is he somebody that you're streaming at all? He has not been the Mike Clevinger that people know from back in his days with Cleveland specifically. He's had good bouts of streaming. He's spiked up some decent games, but all told, it's a 9% strikeout minus walk, 523 Sierra with a 146 whip. What do you think?
I mean, he's been pretty good recently. Last 3 starts, he's been really good. And these are literally the 2 worst offenses in baseball versus right-hand pitching this year. If you look at their WOBA. So, I think he is a must start in 15s and 12s. And I think you're making the argument in 10s only if, or arguing against only if you just have a loaded roster this week. And but I think if you're not going to use them here, then why have them on your roster? Because these are 2 really good matchups that I think you have to take advantage of.
No, I totally agree there. If you have Mike Clevinger on your roster, there's absolutely no universe where you should be sitting him here, or else, why would you have him? I do agree as a solid pickup, though. I do think there's streaming viability here. Like I said, he's had some good starts. I know the skills don't look great. He could still burn you because he can drop 4 or 5 walks on you in a given outing. But this is a classic stream. You got to take advantage of this. This is why you stream. You look for a guy with some upside that gets 2 good starts. The only downside on the starts is really that they're on the road, but I don't get too hung up on that. So I like.
I mean, those are better places to pitch than Chicago.
Than his home park. So, that's true. That's true.
Mean,
Cleveland and Progressive and Comerica, not bad spots to pitch. Let's go to Michael Lorenzen, who has been putting up some decent starts. The skills to support it haven't really been there. I think one of them was like 7 innings, 2 strikeouts or something. It's like, I really wish there was a little bit more meat on the bone as far as some of these underlying skills. But his last time out, 6 scoreless with 7 Ks against Pittsburgh after putting up 4 total Ks in 14 innings in his first 2 starts of the month. So all told, it's been a great month for Michael Lorenzen. Has he done enough to get you interested in at KC home to the...
I mean, these again are two pretty good matchups in terms of like the team Wobas versus right-handed pitching. So I feel less confident that he's gonna be good because it is still Michael Lorenzen, but I think you're rolling with it in the majority of formats. This is one of those you kind of close your eyes and pray when you open them that he hasn't dropped like an 8-run outing on you.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's pitching well enough to take this spot. This is a classic stream, which means it comes with plenty of risk. But I do think I'm in on Lorenzen in 15s, maybe some 12s, probably not 10s. I don't think you need to go this deep. Maybe depends on what kind of rosters y'all put out there and how shallow your wire is. But I think you can probably avoid Michael Lorenzen in 10s.
Agreed.
What about your boy Brady Singer here? Maybe starting to turn the tide on things. Now we've talked about how it looks like last year was more peak Brady Singer with the skill set he has, as opposed to level change and emergence into something different. Now, even if you believe that to be fully true, he's still not an 8-something ERA pitcher, which is what he was doing coming into the month. Now he has back-to-back solid starts. A couple unearned runs helped him there last outing when he gave up 4, but only 2 were earned. And the skills still haven't been great with 7 strikeouts and 4 walks in those 12 innings. But at least you're seeing some better ratios with Brady Singer. He's popping up on waiver wires. I think we can run the gamut here with him about picking up and starting, whether it's shallow or deep. He gets double home, Detroit, Washington. Is that enough? I know you like Singer coming into the year. I don't know where you currently stand with him. You picking him up in leagues where he's available? You starting him in leagues? How do you feel about Brady Singer right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is another one where you kind of close your eyes and pray that it doesn't blow up in your face, but he has been better the last 2 starts, and this is the worst offense in baseball versus right-handed pitching and the 4th worst offense in baseball versus right-handed pitching. So,
Shut
yeah.
up.
Sorry,
we
bud.
heard you the first time.
When we start talking about some lefties, I'll rip on the Giants. So
that Tigers are actually decent against lefties.
Yeah,
So be careful there. They do have a
so
split.
so is the Nationals. So the Nationals are decent against lefties as well. So yeah, I think I know for sure I'm going to be starting him in most of my leagues, if not all of my leagues. But I'm also going to be like, I don't know, taking anti-anxiety medication or something.
Yeah, I think you can with Singer in deeper leagues, especially with 2 home starts. If you believed in him, I don't think he's a must or anything like that. How shallow are you going here with Singer? 15s, I think we both co-signed. 12s, I can get there, particularly as a stream pickup. You there in 10s at all as a stream for Singer?
I think it's debatable depending on the rest of your lineup or the rest of your rosters. So I think you can definitely make the argument for it depending on what your other options are.
Let me see if I can quickly find like a 1 start there to put you to the test. Would you go Singer in the 2-step here? And again, that's Detroit and Washington at home, or Charlie Morton against Philly, 10-teamer, shallow format.
I think you gotta go Morton, even though Morton's underlying skills have been really, really bad.
Pretty meh, right?
Yeah. His underlying skills have been pretty scary, but like I keep writing him up for my like sell high column, and it just doesn't seem to ever pan out yet. But yeah, I think you've got to go Morton there.
What about those 2 starts, or James Paxton at the Angels as a 1-step start?
I don't think I'm messing with that Angels offense. I think I'm going.
I try to avoid them anywhere I can right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I totally vibe with you on that. So again, Singer, there's heavy risk, but I think you do start him in your deeper leagues. Shallows, it's really a toss-up. This is not guaranteed, but we did talk about Gavin Stone earlier. Could be the replacement for May. Seems on track to be, which means he would line up for a 2-step at Atlanta and at Tampa Bay. That is remarkably difficult.
Yeah.
Is it a pickup and stash with Stone? Is it a pass altogether because the price might be too high? There's going to be availability for Stone in leagues. What are you doing here with this 2-step on deck, and given how it might impact the prices?
Yeah, I'll pick him up, but I'm not. There's no way I'm starting him. I mean, I know Atlanta hasn't been like amazing versus right-handed pitching this year. I do not care, and Tampa Bay is just a team that dismantles you little by little. So I'm staying the hell away from this 2-step.
Yeah, I totally am too. And as such, if I think that the price on Stone is going to be too much here, I'm gonna pass. Like if people see, oh, two-step, I'm gonna go up on him, and all of a sudden this price starts to elevate. Obviously, you can't know. You're blind bidding in most of these. I think I'm just gonna kind of put in my decent bid and move on. And if somebody goes crazy for Stone because they see the two-step, they can have him because he hasn't been that good anyway.
Yeah.
So okay, let's move on from Gavin Stone to the Marlins now. You recently paid big for this pickup, you specifically, but I also mean the general you to people who got him. But you've already got a really tough challenge with Yuri Perez. I almost said Yuri Cabrera, combining the two here, because Edward Cabrera also has this two-step. So you got the older prospect, who's been a little disappointing, except recently, and then the new prospect, the hot flavor of the month, and Yuri Perez, Edward Cabrera. They go to Colorado and to the Angels. What are you doing here? Let's start with Cabrera, because I think Perez, obviously, the shine is much brighter right now. Cabrera, the shine has dulled. You talk about 40 grade command with Dylan Cease. I think Cabrera's rocking like a 30 grade command. What are you doing here? He's coming off a decent start. Do you pick up and stash? Do you do anything? Is he just too risky? This two-step seems impossible to start with Edward Cabrera, though. What do you think?
Especially because we know that in Colorado, breaking stuff doesn't break as much. And so, hey, maybe he doesn't walk as many guys, but I worry he's going to get a bunch of homers instead. But yeah, either way, I'm not starting Edward Cabrera in Colorado. I just think it's too risky. As far as your
season debut there last year when he went 6 1-hit innings with 4 walks and 9 punchies.
I'm still not doing it.
No, I'm not suggesting that you should. I'm just pointing out that Edward Cabrera has a standout outing in Coors. Doesn't mean I would get here, especially because even if you survive that, you got the Angels.
Yeah, we're a top 10 team. Yeah, top 10 team in WOBA against right-handed pitching this year. So, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, no thanks for me either. I'm not fully against picking him up, even though I don't feel super comfortable with Cabrera really anywhere right now. He would set up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He would set up for Oakland next week, though. So that is enough to encourage me to go ahead and be open to picking up Edward Cabrera and stashing him just for the Oakland start at home next week, the following week, but not this two-step here. Okay, so what about the big dog then? You got Yuri Perez. You got a great second start from him, his first W. Congrats to him. At Colorado, at the Angels with the big-time prospect. Are you rolling him out there? And if so, what league formats for Yuri Perez in this two-step?
I feel like it's only 15-team leagues. And I feel like there are going to be potential other options that you might want to go with. Like, I mean, would you rather start Brady Singer, who's got a really nice two-step, not in an atrocious home park, or would you rather start Yuri Perez? I think it's debatable. I think it's really dependent on what you need.
Can you take it one time? This asset controller here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have a situation where I've got to start both. So
I was gonna say those are two of your guys. You love Singer coming into the year, and you got Yuri Perez in a bunch of leagues, so you might have the old double dip there.
But Perez has been really, really impressive, and so like
really too good. So far.
I totally understand in any format going. He's been too good that I just can't not start him. And
you paid the premium, you're going for it. I mean, he's not a stud yet, right? It's 2 starts, but if you're like, hey, I believe him,
pretty close to being a stud. Yeah,
start your studs everywhere type of deal. Like, I can totally see it. Like, I'm not gonna crush anybody that starts Yuri Perez here, because I get it. You paid for him, you believe in him. He's like the premier prospect or one of them. I would certainly understand it and be open to it. So deeper leagues only, I don't think you have to take the risk in 10s or 12s, but 15s, I think I am starting Yuri Perez. Colin Ray had some two-step streamer viability recently. I think it was a two-step that involved Detroit. I remember it because I took that plunge and it was whatever. It wasn't great. But now he gets Houston and San Francisco. Just curious if there's any deep league appeal there for Colin Ray. I'm actually not even sure with what he's been doing since that two-step, because I cut him, obviously.
Gave up 4 in his last outing. No, this is not one you want to mess with. As much as the Giants aren't very good, they've been very good against right-handed pitching. As top, 5 to 10 team this year. So, and then Houston's Houston. So no
I'm
way.
still nervous with them, right? Yeah, even with Houston being 24th in WOBA against righties, do you ever really feel that comfortable starting your
No.
mediocre guys like this against them? No.
Especially now, Tuve's going to be back for this.
Exactly. They're going to start getting healthy. I don't want to mess with that. Colin Ray, no, I don't think so. I added this one, so if you're not looking at the list right now, you didn't see this one, because I didn't realize how available he was. I think this guy's on all formats, must start, should be rostered. But Bailey Ober's only 64% rostered at Yahoo. So I threw him on the list here. I thought he was going to be like 88%. I think it's crazy that he's that available. I think you should be going out and getting him. He gets a two-step, San Francisco and Toronto. I've made it clear that I'm fully endorsing him. What do you think about Bailey Ober with this two-step here for shallower formats where he's available?
I really like Bailey Ober, but he is walking a tightrope that is going to blow up at some point.
No.
This could definitely be it. He's got a 435 Sierra. He's putting the ball in the air 57.5% of the time. He's, minuscule, 23%, 24% ground ball rate. This is going to blow up at some point. Is it this week? I don't know. I don't know how you don't start him with how well he is pitched. Yeah. But like there are underlying skills there that are really, really scary that, I think Nick calls them a cherry bomb. Like I think that Ober, in spite of what he has done so far, is a cherry bomb. And at some point he is going to blow up in your face.
The scary part, of course, is the homers. They were a bit of an issue in his, not a bit, they were a big issue in his debut, the 92 innings back in 2021, when Ober allowed a 2.0 homer 9. He was really cutting into them last year, but was cut short with just 56 innings, and it was a 5% homer to fly ball. So it's like, well, is that legit? This year, same kind of deal where the homers are down 0.6. That's amazing, but it's a 4% homer to fly ball. Can he maintain that with as many fly balls as he allows? It seems unlikely. I don't think it's going to be as disastrous as you're suggesting. I think there'll be a multi-homer game that'll boost his ERA up a bit. But what do you think Ober's true talent is? Like from here forward, what are you projecting him ERA whip-wise?
Like 3.5 to 3.7 ERA, 1.15-ish whip.
That should be rostered everywhere to me.
I think so too.
So I still think that, even acknowledging that he's not going to stay at this level, particularly because there has been an 89% left on base rate too. That's also going to regress for Ober. Even acknowledging those, it's an auto start for me in the two-step, and it's a must pick up. So I think
the question really becomes how many innings do we get from him rest of the way?
That's just a matter of if he can stay healthy. I think if he stays healthy, he's 27. They don't have to super baby him. He should get a pretty full allotment, but can he stay healthy is the question that you're asking, and I agree. Let's talk Luis Medina in Oakland. Obviously, you're not getting too excited about starting any Oakland starters, but I did want to bring him up because he is a live arm, legit prospect with some talent, and has put together back-to-back quality starts against Texas and Arizona, two decent ball clubs as well, after an opening dud at the Angels. Have you seen enough from Luis Medina that you might be interested in at Seattle, home to Houston? Any interest in Medina's outlook rest of season, even if you're not interested in this two-step?
Yeah, I'm not really interested in this two-step. Medina has got amazing stuff in the inability to control or command it.
Standard issue, pitching prospect sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was a top-tier pitching prospect at one point, but the reason why a lot of people don't recognize his name is because he struggled so much with walks and home runs in the minor leagues that people were like, well, I think he's a bullpen piece at best. He might not even make the majors. And I think if he was, I think if he was on a different team other than the A's, he wouldn't be in the majors. So I have no interest in starting him or really even rostering him outside of like the deepest of leagues.
Yeah, like AL only. Okay, I can start to see that. But one of the things I'm looking for that we haven't seen yet is it's a 9% swinging strike rate. If he starts to get that up and really start missing some bats and reining in his stuff, I'll consider it. I think he's probably making a concerted effort to be in the zone because he's had such walk issues. Medina has. Taking all of his minor league stops, which eyeballing it here, there's about 12 dating back to when he was 17 with the Yankees. It's like 12 or 13 stops here. And they're various innings, some of them even small samples. One time has he been below 13% walk rate for Medina. It was a 7% stint for 11 innings. So the fact that he's at 7% in the majors, the trade-off has been that he's been much more hittable and a 2.7 homer 9. So I feel like he's just putting it in the zone. Here it is, hit it. And they're saying, okay, we'll go ahead and hit it. So I'm going to monitor his growth, but I'm not picking up this two-step. I could maybe see some summer streaming viability. It's not there yet, though, with Luis Medina. You can pass here. Let's go out to Philly. Now, I don't know about this guy being back in the rotation, but we have Taiwan Walker and apparently Matt Strahm. I don't know if he's whose spot is he taking?
Bailey Falter got sent down to the minors.
Okay, I missed that. I'm sorry. So Walker and Strahm, they both get Arizona and at Atlanta. Do you like either?
Not particularly. I mean,
not back in on Strahm after what he did in the rotation.
I mean, I guess.
I think I'd be in for Strahm.
I guess Atlanta's really good against lefties, though. So
say that again. I'm sorry.
Atlanta's really good against lefties.
It's not super easy, but Strahm was good enough to where I think he can be a little bit matchup in a two-step. I think I'm interested. Taiwan Walker, as much as I've always loved him, it's a fan versus analyst situation where I always root for him, but I'm just not in any.
I think with Strahm, if you're not win-seeking, because I just don't know how deep he's going to go.
I agree with that. If you're okay with potentially 9 innings, a 4-start and a 5-start type of deal, you might get 9 total innings, but you could get 13, 14 Ks and some decent ratios. If you're okay with that, I agree with the non-win chasing thing. Marco Gonzales, the only reason I'm bringing him up is because it's home to Oakland and Pittsburgh. Is that enough to lure you in at all deep league?
I think so. I mean, Oakland's awful. Pittsburgh's been really, really bad recently. Yeah, I think I am. I mean, this is one, again, that can really blow up in your face because Marco Gonzales can just be an awful pitcher. But, like, you don't get better matchups than this.
You really don't. And so I do think if you are streaming in deeper leagues and you're looking for something, he should at least be in the old waterfall, which is, you know, your list of bids there. Let's go out to your boys in San Francisco. Alex Cobb and Ross Stripling get trips to Minnesota and Milwaukee. So they're heading to the Midwest there. Cobb seems more likely everywhere. I'm just wondering if you're starting him in shallow leagues. Stripling is more of a deep league pickup and stream. How do you feel about those two, Cobb and Stripling?
Cobb's starting to show some ill effects. I'm still starting him right now pretty much everywhere. Ross Stripling, I wouldn't put him on your roster. And you and I are going up against each other this week.
I think I agree with you there. As much as I've loved Strip in the past, too, he's kind of like a Taiwan Walker situation. Fan, root for him, but I don't see it. Jordan Montgomery, this is, again, more of a shallow league situation because I think in deep leagues you got to kind of stick with him. He gets tripped to Cincy and Cleveland, though. So that's kind of a one-up, one-down in terms of venue. Neither offense is doing all that much. Are you back in, or not back? I don't know where you've been on Jordan Montgomery. Are you in on him? I know St. Louis has a lot of stink on them right now. Jordan Montgomery's been the only thing close to a decent starter for them, but it's a 4.21 ERA, 1.34 WHIP. Are you starting Jordan Montgomery or picking him up in shallow leagues?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Jordan Montgomery guy. I know it hasn't been great recently, but I think he's going to be fine. And like we talked about earlier, Cleveland's one of the worst offenses in baseball right now. Like they're just buoyed by that amazing pitching staff and bullpen. So no problem starting Jordan Montgomery.
Again, I wish I could remember to give credit, but there was an analyst out there that was saying they had so many breakouts last year. They're not going to get all of that. There's going to be a lot of regression. This team could bottom out a bit and have to be saved by their pitching. Taj Bradley, he's back. He pitched yesterday, got off to a rough first inning that had Jason really freaking out, thinking that it was over. Ends up calming down, having a pretty solid outing. Taj Bradley gets Toronto and the Dodgers. Most people kept him, so I don't think he's super available. But are you picking him up in the shallower leagues and putting him back in everywhere in your lineup, Taj Bradley?
I think in deeper leagues, yes. In shallower leagues, these are really two tough matchups. I mean, the Dodgers have looked like the best team in baseball. The Blue Jays are really, really good. This is tough. I think in 10 teams, you probably should sit out on it.
Would you pick Taj Bradley up and bench him again? I know we
absolutely
unorthodox.
I think she should be rostered in every league. It may not be your team, but in your shallower formats, but I think he should be rostered in pretty much every league. But Man, I don't know that I want to mess with the Dodgers in a two-step, especially when the other, if it's like
Toronto's not easy either.
Yeah, exactly. If it's like the Dodgers and the Tigers, then like, okay.
Okay. Relax, man. Jeez. Absolutely blasting my guys here, and we've been playing a little bit better lately. Dane Dunning was on the episode last week because he was set up for a two-step, got moved back a day, kicks him to this week. It's actually a better situation now because it's at Baltimore or at Pittsburgh and at Baltimore in that order. You talked about how Pittsburgh's fallen on their face here in May, at least offensively for sure. Baltimore has been excellent as a ball club, but I still don't mind going into their venue. I was pretty bullish on Dunning when it was Atlanta and home to Colorado last week when we thought that was going to be his two-step. I remain bullish here. I'm in on Dane Dunning. What say you?
I mean, you can't deny what he's done so far, and these are two pretty good matchups. Yeah, I'm in on Dane Dunning. I'm super glad I streamed him against Atlanta because I didn't really have any other choice in a league. So yeah, and it worked out. So they're not getting a lot of strikeouts, but wins and ratios are really nice to get at this point of the year.
Yeah, and I don't expect 169, 088, but even his Sierra 431 has value in deeper formats, which is where I'm at with Dane Dunning. I'm not saying I'm picking him up everywhere, but I like Dane Dunning, and I'd probably pick him up in a 12 for this spot start too. I would also pick up this guy where available. I think people have been slow to get him in the shower leagues. MacKenzie Gore gets a two-step where he's going to face San Diego and a trip to KC. Are you picking up MacKenzie Gore in the shallower formats where he's still available?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised that he is so available in the shallow league.
55% at Yahoo.
Like he's walking the yard, but he's doing a good job of keeping the ball in the yard, and he's getting you a ton of strikeouts. So these aren't matchups that particularly scare me. I mean, I know San Diego can be,
I still think they're good. Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's a revenge game too.
But they're like mediocre against left-handed pitching this year, and so is Kansas City. So, yeah, I think I'm rolling with that one.
Yeah, I'm rolling with MacKenzie Gore as well. And again, I think he should be picked up in more leagues. He's a bit too widely available for what he's done. So there you go. There's the two steps. Some really interesting guys to pick up. Like even if you don't get the Liberatore big prize of the week, I think there are some guys you can go get probably on the cheap too, depending on your league size, and sneak some nice picks in there. And then there's some guys that we want to pick up, but we don't want to start for their two-step, which is a bit unorthodox. Normally we're attacking two steps. But for example, you mentioned Taj Bradley in a shallower league. You pick him up, but maybe you sit this one out. Edward Cabrera, you pick him up maybe for the Oakland start the following week, but maybe you sit this out. So lots of options this week. You and Jason got anything going on Sunday?
Yeah, we got Sarah Sanchez coming on.
Let's go. She's wonderful. So, okay, excellent. I look forward to listening to that on my walk on Sunday evening. Until then, Justin, I will talk to you later.
Take it easy.